All righty. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it may be when you guys are tuning in to this broadcast. I am your international award winning author, and I'm actually looking for because it looks like my camera's a little bit blurry, but whatever. And the show must go on. So, I am your international award winning author, filmmaker, and empowerment specialist. Toneal M. Jackson, and I want to welcome you guys to an all new Get Educated and Empowered with Tennille, the show that equips you with the information and inspiration to be your best self. And I am she, her, Tennille. So today we know on Tuesdays we talk about personal growth. And this is gonna bother me, y'all. I'm gonna end up having to see if I can. This is why you need to hold on. Look, I got tissue in my office. Hold on. I got tissue because this camera is really gonna bother me because it looked like I must have just smudged it initially. So hold on. Let's see, because y'all know I'm a little bit of a. Okay, now that's there we go. Now we cooking with some grease. So all right. So listen, guys. As you all are coming in, whether you're coming in from Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, or even listening on Noon Vibe, you guys know the protocol at this point. It is to number one, say hello so that way I can speak back. Number two, like and share the video if you are watching it visually. And then number three, tag somebody that you believe will benefit from tuning into this podcast. And so who would benefit from today's episode? Who would benefit? Um, Anybody that you know that has a problem saying no. Anybody that you know that struggles with setting boundaries. Um, Yeah, in a nutshell, that would be them. So whether it's a male or female, old, young, black, white, and everything in between, if you or someone you know struggles with setting boundaries, then I'm gonna ask you to come on in the room, or I'm gonna ask you to tag them to get them in the room, right? So, all right, let's kind of set up this uh let's set up the show. Let's talk about what all we're going to be talking about because I think we all understand what setting boundaries means, right? So for when you're trying to establish your personal space, when you're trying to establish what it is that you will and will not do, um, and I think that it's typically setting boundaries, saying no, um, prioritizing yourself, your mental health. I think that that is typically easy to do when you are dealing with either strangers, people you don't know, or people you don't like, right? And so that's kind of the easy thing. If I don't know you, we don't have any type of relationship, then it's nothing for me to set a boundary. It's nothing for me to tell you, no, I don't have time for you. This is what already have going on, so I think that is nothing to do that with people you don't know or people you don't like. I think we run into issues when it's people we do know, right? So whether it's family, friends, co-workers, people we go to church with, so people that we have some type of amicable relationship with, I think that's when it begins. I can't speak. I think that's when it begins to get a bit hairy, when we are trying to tell people that we have some type of feelings for, and again, not necessarily just romantic feelings, but whether it is, amicable, so we like each other, we respect each other, it's important to me how you feel about me. Like whenever it's that type of relationship, so whether it's between significant others, parent child relationships, siblings, like I say, co-workers, community members, church members, any and all of the above, I think that's when it begins to get a little bit hairy to say no. So first, before I get into because on this show, what we are going to what I'm going to walk you through is like who you should set boundaries for, how you set the boundaries, what do you do or what do you say, when do you say it, and why do you say it. We're going to go through that on today. And so, again, feel free to ask questions, or post your comments in the comment section below. If you are listening from Noon Vibe, then feel free to put your comments in the inbox section. But I just want to, like I say, hey Mojo. So we're gonna go through this very relatively quickly, right? Because again, setting boundaries, I don't think that that is something that people are unfamiliar with in practice. Like in practice, I think we all know that we should set boundaries. I think the issue again becomes the things that I said we're going to discuss on the show. Who do we set the boundaries for? When do we set the boundaries? What do we do or what do we say in order to set boundaries? Why are we setting boundaries? How do we set boundaries? I think that all of those things become important. Hey, Victor. Hey, Mike. And so, like, just in general, let's say this: the reason why it is necessary to set boundaries. And I will say this again, this is going under our personal growth show, aka self care. Self care is necessary. It is necessary. Hello, Nicole. It is necessary to set boundaries. Why? Because if you never say no, if you never, set boundaries, then people will never feel as though they have to respect you, right? If every time somebody asks you to do something, if you're always saying yes, then whether you know it or not, hey, Barbara, whether you know it or not, what you are doing is you are setting yourself up to constantly be the go to person. And I know that maybe for many people, especially those of us who are the caregivers, we are the helpers, we are the strong ones, so we may feel like that that's exactly what it is that we want to do and what we're going for. Here's the problem: too much of anything can become a bad thing. Can I repeat that? Too much of anything can become a bad thing. Hey, Bethany, too much of anything can become a bad thing. And so when you have, I'm going to use this word, but I mean it respectfully. When you have trained people to, always call on you, the problem becomes uh, it's a few problems. One of the problems becomes, well, what happens when I don't want to anymore, right? Whether it's because I'm otherwise obligated, whether it's because I don't feel good, or I just don't feel like it. When you have trained people, when I say trained people, again, I'm not meaning to be rude. But the fact of the matter is that we train people, right? Like you teach people. So let's say it like this. Maybe this is more politically correct and audibly appealing. Like you teach people how to treat you. And so if every time somebody comes and asks you to do something, and y'all gonna ask me how I know in a minute, I'm gonna tell you. But if every time somebody comes and asks you to do something, whether you know how to do it or not, if you're always saying yes, then guess what? What that is inevitably and inadvertently teaching them is, hey, whenever I have a problem, this person can solve it, right? It is not teaching them how to do it themselves. And see, I know a lot of nice people, good-hearted people, good intentioned people, if I can say that's that word, people with good intentions, like, in your mind, and I can tell you what's in your mind because it used to be in my mind too, right? Because if you're the type of person that, you're typically just good to people and you're not a type of person to take advantage of people, then you naively think that everybody thinks that way. You naively believe that, hey, because I would never take advantage of a relationship, nobody would ever take advantage of a relationship. Because I would never take advantage of anybody's just, nobody would ever take advantage of anybody's just. Baby, can I tell you? That is not the case. Okay. Like you have a lot of people who are just waiting. They are waiting for somebody like you. They are waiting for somebody like you who gets a joy out of doing everything for them because now you've just made their life so much easier. Now they don't even have to try. All they have to try to do is call you. And so this is why, because like maybe the first time, second time, even the fifth time, maybe you don't mind. But again, what happens is it gets old pretty fast. And now you found yourself in this place where it's like, wait a minute, how did I get here? But more specifically, how do I get out of here? So that's what we're going to talk about today. How do we set the boundaries? So let's first start with whom should we set boundaries? Those who are listening and even watching, if you guys want to put in the comment section real quick, who do you think, who do we set boundaries for? With whom should we set boundaries? Like put it in the comments if you have a thought toward that. Who should we set boundaries for? Who do we set boundaries for? So I'm gonna wait for a quick second and see if I see somebody putting some stuff in some comment sections. See if I can get y'all to talk to me on the day. So who do we set boundaries for? Because I think that sometimes that in and of itself is the problem, that we don't necessarily know who we have the right to say no to. Uh, Nicole Harris says we should set boundaries for everyone, include girl. Listen, that's a whole preached word right there. Nicole Harris said we should set boundaries for everyone, including ourselves. We should set boundaries for everyone, including ourselves. And then Barbara said we should set boundaries for ourselves. Hey, Dr. Robert. Hey, Paula. Hey, Jeanette. Hello to everybody. Hello to everybody that is watching. But yes, so we should set boundaries for everyone, including ourselves. So let's explore that really quickly, right? So when we talk about setting boundaries for ourselves, what that looks like is understanding your parameters, understanding what can I do, what is my capacity, right? That could change every day. You could have a set schedule. So knowing your capacity is both physically, mentally, financially, all of that. So in order to know your capacity, you must first know yourself, right? So what can I take on that's not going to drive me crazy? What can I take on that's not going to stress me out? What can I take on that's not going to have me blowing a fuse and lashing out at everybody else, right? So, hey, Lucas, so you need to know yourself. So, typically, what that means is you're looking at your day, right? And for those of you, if your days always go the same, then you don't have to look at every single day. But for those of us who have days that may vary, activities may fluctuate, what I would definitively advise you to do is to keep a calendar, right? Whether I have every I got every type of calendar you can imagine. I got a wall calendar. I have like a physical notebook calendar. I have calendars in my phone. But the point that I'm making is before you tell anybody yes, you should be looking at your calendar, looking at your to-do list. Wherever it is that you keep track, and you should be, if you are a multifaceted person, you should be keeping track of your activities somewhere other than just your mind, right? So when you have multiple things to do, do not overwhelm your mind. Do not just rely on, oh, I have a good memory. Because, baby, let me tell you something. When things start going real quick, it's not always easy to remember all of the things, right? It's not always easy to remember. And what happens is you got seven things lined up for Wednesday, but then Wednesday actually gets here, and in that moment, you kind of forget what it was that you had to do. You do three of the things, and when you remember those other four things, either on your way home at the end of the day, when you're in the bed, or the next day, or the next time when you are confronted by whatever that activity was, right? So, again, that's like an inadvertent tip. If you are a multifaceted person, make sure that you are physically writing down the things that you need to do, the things that you have committed yourself to doing. Make sure you are writing those things down, because number one, there's a saying that says out of sight, out of mind. So therefore, like if you're talking to your girlfriend, your guy friend, whoever, you're talking to somebody, they're asking you to do something, like never commit without looking at that calendar. And this is a way that you're setting the boundary for yourself. So if hey, every day is filled with 24 hours, we know that. But what is my personal capacity? Just because every day has 24 hours does not mean that I'm available 24 hours a day, right? So, like, if you have appointments, if you got different things going on, you need to know whatever your capacity is. If you have physical limitations, you need to know what your capacity is. So when you are operating intentionally, right? Then that's what helps you to set the boundaries for yourself. Knowing yourself, hey, Tammy, knowing yourself helps you to set boundaries for yourself. Now, the other part to that, with whom should we set boundaries? We should set boundaries for everybody. And that is 100% accurate. Like, I don't care whether it's your family, if your family looks like your parents with your siblings, if your family looks like your significant other, your children, everybody that cares about you should know your capacity. I have found that being proactive in your communication and your standard for expectation of yourself and others, when you are able to proactively communicate that, it really kind of helps to set people's expectations. So if you don't come out the box saying yes to everything, and say you got somebody. So with me, I have four children, three of which are living at home with me. So if four children or three children come to me, and this one needs me to do something at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, like, no. First of all, I have to physically see who did I say yes to first, right? Now, if it's a emergency or something like that, then that's different. We go in order of emergency, right? Like, when you go to emergency room, it could be like a room full of people, but they don't always accommodate according to who got there first. It's the most severe injuries first, right? So whatever's life or death, that's what we tend to first, and then so on and so forth. So it's the same thing. So, like, when you're looking at who all you're going to set a boundary for, the answer should be everybody. Now, maybe some people will have access to you on this particular day and some on this particular day. It's totally up to you how you do it, because, again, you have to know yourself, you have to know your capacity. But everybody that has access to you, nobody should have an unlimited access to you. Like, even your significant other, there should be a time where you have a relationship and there's an understanding where, yeah, baby, I love you, but not right now. Either not right now, or not today, or not this week. And again, if you have a relationship where you guys have both been kind of honest with what your time looks like, with what your capacity is, then it should be where they understand it, and it's not creating an attitude. It's not problematic, right? Because you guys both understand where you all are. And it's like, but whatever capacity I do have, you got that. but you don't have 100% of me because you're not the only person in my life. And watch this, and I don't care who that's to, your significant other, your parent, your child, your boss. And when I say you're not the only person in my life, many times we don't include ourselves, right? We don't put ourselves on that list when we're talking about our capacity and the things that we can do or the things that we need to do. Many times we are not factoring ourselves into the things that we need to do, right? Like many times is, okay, five people ask you, absolutely, you are so welcome for the gyms, thank you for tuning in. But so many times it's like when people are asking us for favors or they're asking us to do different things, what happens is because we did not write down those things that we wanted or needed to do for ourselves, because we failed to write those things down, then those are typically the things that's the first to go off the list. So it's because it's basically not etched in stone. We're kind of presented to ourselves as being optional, so that if, in my head I want to get a pedicure, but such and such calls and asks me, can I take them to the grocery store? Well, I didn't really have the pedicure written down, so it's not really, you know what I mean? It's not really mandatory. But here's the thing, yes, it's okay to swap out things here and there. I'm not telling you to be selfish. Remember, self-care is not selfish, right? So if your activities, your actions, if it starts looking selfish, then maybe it's not self-care. There is a difference between the two, but you should know yourself and you should know your boundaries. So that's the first thing. And if you guys are just now tuning in, today we are talking about setting boundaries. We're going through, hey Tori, hey Scott, we're going through with whom should we set boundaries, which is what we just covered. We're talking about why we should set boundaries, what we should say or do, how to say or do it, when to say and do it. That's what we're covering in today's show. And so what we just got finished talking about was the whom. So we should be setting boundaries for ourselves and for others. So in order to set boundaries for ourselves, we or before we can even set boundaries for other people, we need to set boundaries for ourselves. Does that make sense? So that way we understand our capacity. We're operating based upon the capacity that we have established for ourselves. And then that way you are reinforcing that to whomever may need you along the way. Now, it might seem like it's out of order, but I want to go to the why. Why are we setting boundaries? So we've kind of inadvertently and indirectly discussed it, but we're setting boundaries for our health, for our well-being, right? Whether you're talking about our physical well-being, but most importantly, our mental well-being. You have to set boundaries, because if you don't, if you're just constantly on the go, you're constantly doing, giving, being, going, everything. You're constantly doing all of that. Then guess what happens? You end up wearing yourself out. You're stressing yourself out. You're wearing yourself thin. You're not sleeping well. You're probably not eating well because you're always on the go. Whether the on the go means like you're physically going somewhere or you're always doing something. Now, listen, I am as big of a doer as anybody. I just was talking to a girlfriend the other day, and she was like, "Man, Toneal, I thought I did a lot. Every time I look at you, you are doing something." And I told her, I said, "Girl, let me tell you something. As much as you think you see me do now, when I say how much I have cut back, when I say how much I have set boundaries, how many people I say no to, like how much I'm like, just like, I figured out, I don't want to say how to master certain things, but I'm definitely way better at setting boundaries than I used to be." Hey, Christy, a dose of reveal. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Um, but the reason why we set boundaries is because we care about ourselves, because we care about our health, because we care about our well being, because we recognize that we are human, because we don't want people to constantly take advantage of us. Do I need to give you more reasons? Are those enough? I mean, because there are so many reasons why. Because you want for other people to learn how to do the things that they're asking you to do, right? Because many times, if we be honest, some of the things that we're saying yes to, It's not that like they're rocket science. Some of the things that we're saying yes to is not like our own particular niche, right? So, like in other words, it's not like somebody came and asked you to edit their homework and you are an editor, right? Like, no, sometimes it's, well, can you run me to the grocery store? But you were just out earlier. Or, can you cook dinner for me? Why I gotta cook it? You know how to cook just like I know how to cook. You see what I'm trying to say? So it's not always, and again, this is what I'm saying. You have to use your discretion. So no, I am not telling you to go tell everybody no that you can't do nothing for nobody. That is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that you have to use your discretion. Only you know your body. Only you know whether or not you are like one task away from blowing up, from breaking down, from snapping, from stressing out, from, like it's so many different things. If we are not properly taking care of ourselves, so many different things that can happen. And you feel it, you feel if you are exhausted, you feel that exhaustion in your body. A lot of times you might get what we call an exhaustion headache, where your head starts hurting. It's not because you hungry, it's because you ain't slept, right? And you keep on, well, because I want to just try to get one more thing in. I want to try to do one more thing. I want to, okay, but you know what? That thing gonna have to wait till after your nap. You know what I mean? Like you have to learn how to take care of yourself and care about yourself enough to where, you know whatever it is can wait until I tend to me. Because again, I use that airport analogy, where when you're at the airport, they will tell you in case of an emergency, when that oxygen mask comes down, you have to cover your own face first. Because at the end of the day, how good are you to somebody if you are dead? None. What they gonna do then? Figure it out. So why do they have to wait until you die to figure it out, baby? Help them. Help tell them, help me help you, right? So like you can be a partial solution. You don't even have to be the whole solution. But these are the reasons why. So I hope that we are very clear as to why we need to set boundaries. It is not because we are mean, right? And a lot of times when you first, if you're a person that's never told somebody no, if you're a person that always does what everybody asks you to do, then let me tell you what to expect the moment that you start trying to set a boundary. People are going to say that you're acting funny. People are going to say you're being mean. People are going to say you're trying to break up the family. You're trying to stop their growth. You're trying to hinder this, that, and the third. They're going to accuse you of everything. They're going to try to do whatever they can to guilt trip you, to gaslight you, to manipulate you, to make you feel bad for finally setting a boundary. When, watch this, why, after all this time, have you still not learned how to do it yourself? Why is it that I am the only go to? Many times, the reason why is because you established that pattern, right? Remember, I told you, if you have started out and you kept telling everybody yes all the time, then guess what? You are the one who created this monster. But here's the beautiful part about it, and this is definitely what I had to learn. If you created the monster, then guess what? You can also destroy the monster. If you are the reason why everybody feels like you're going to always say yes, then you can also be the reason why people will learn that you can also say no. And how will they learn that? You got to start saying no. It only works if you start saying no. Like if you constantly grouch, 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 complain, 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 um, but then at the end of all that, you still say yes anyway. You still do it anyway. Then now what you're just teaching them is, okay, well, you know what? Hold on. When you go and you ask such and such, just wait about 10, 15 minutes because they're going to complain. They're going to grouch. They're going to say all of this, then the third. They might use some profane words, but at the end of all of that, just hold on a minute because at the end of all that, they're going to end up saying yes. So you're still not teaching anybody anything. Or I'll say it like this, you're teaching the wrong lesson, right? So make sure that you value yourself. That's the reason why you're setting boundaries, because you value yourself, your sanity, and your health. Now, what do we do when we are setting boundaries? Well, okay, here's the thing. At the end of the day, I've already been alluded to. You got to say no. You have to say no. And here is one of the most freeing ways to say no. If somebody asks you, can you do something? Can you take me to the grocery store today? No. You see how y'all was waiting for me to come back with with an explanation? See, and that's the problem. Many times we have taught people that we have to explain ourselves to them, that we got to explain to you why you're saying no. But let me tell you something, as an editor and a publisher, let me please explain this to you guys. Catch it real quick. No, no, that's a whole sentence. It does not have to be followed by a comma or a semicolon. No is literally an entire sentence. No, period. That's a whole sentence. It does not need any conjunctions. It doesn't need prepositions. It doesn't need anything to follow. If you choose to insert it, you can. It can be no comma, and then you explain why. But it can just as easily be no. Hey, Deanne, listen, listen. Not explaining, it definitely saves energy because watch this. When you go through explaining, when you go through explaining why the answer is no, well, can you take me to the store today? No, because I got a meeting at 1 o'clock. Oh well, you know what? That's fine. I can wait until 4. You see how you just set yourself up for that? Or no, I can't really do it today because I'm kind of busy. I got a lot of stuff going on today. Oh well, no, that's fine. I don't need to go till Wednesday. You see how you set yourself up for that? You see how they, with your time, they're so generous with your time that they'll reschedule themselves for a time that's not as busy, as if to say, hey, I don't care, so never mind that maybe you just wanted to rest and maybe you just did not want for all of your time to be constantly taken up with activity. Maybe you wanted for there to be a space where you just got to do it, you just got to do nothing, right? Mm-mm. But what you do, and you set yourself up when you do that no and you follow it up with a because, just know that you, and that's not to say you can't still ultimately end it with a no, but you have created even more of an awkwardness or difficulty, right? Like when you just say, hey, can you take me to the store? No. And if no seems too harsh, say no. NAW. Hey, Brienne. No. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Shake your head. Mm-mm-mm. Right? Now, watch this. For those of you who are uncomfortable, because right now, for those of you who are joining me, we're talking about setting boundaries. We've already discussed, you know, just the setup of boundary. Hey, Tiffany. We've already discussed just the setup of like why setting boundaries why it's necessary, right? But so after we discuss setting boundaries, we discuss with whom we should set boundaries with, which is everybody, including ourselves, right? We talked about why we need to set boundaries, and what it boils down to is it protects yourself, your sanity, and your health, right? And then we just talked about what to do. So yes, what to do, one of the things is to just outright say no. But if you are that person that believes that saying, no, I'm not mean, I'm not mean. And so I feel like when I tell somebody no, they might think that I'm mean. And again, what I'm going to tell you is all of that is based upon the relationship that you have with people. Can I tell you the people that's in my life? Hey, Robin, the people that's in my life, they will say no for me. The people that's in my life, they will look at my schedule. They be like, Toneal, can you? Oh, no, never mind, because I know all the stuff you got on your so like people that really care about you, they are not going to want you to hurt yourself, harm yourself, overextend yourself. When you find people who constantly add onto your plate or at least attempt to add onto you, knowing how much stuff that you have going on, then you may want to like do a double take on what is this relationship really like? Like how is this relationship adding value? Because right now I'm just tired. Every time I turn around, you want some, need some, you kind of a little bit on the needy side, leecherish, and you're draining me. So maybe I don't need that in this season of my life. I ain't saying I don't need it ever, but maybe I don't need that in this season of my life, right? So honestly, when you find yourself constantly having to say no to people, because for me, I'm the type of friend, I'm not even gonna put you in a predicament where you gotta tell me no. I'm a considerate friend, right? So like if we've been talking and you've been telling me the different things you got going on, and or maybe we are not an in-person friend, maybe we're social media friends. So say if I see everything that Tiffany got on, she been posting, she got a conference coming up, she got this going on, she got that going on, I'm not the friend that's gonna now try to squeeze myself in. She got 7 things going on in a 5-day work week, and I'm trying to squeeze something in. That's just not the type of friend that I am. But we got a dose of review who's gonna come on, and you guys know, those who are listening in from Noon Vibe, what we do, since we are simulcasting, that we don't take the full 10 minutes that we normally get on Noon Vibe. We come and just do a quick either question or comment. And so as Adosa reveals coming to the mic, we just want to say hello and welcome to the mic.
Hello, hello. I just wanted to disconnect from my headphones because it kept going in and out. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. Well, my name is Shantae. I'm the host for a podcast called Dose of Reveal, and I love the subject that you're talking about tonight.
Thank you.
Boundaries as well as communication. Those two go hand in hand.
Yep.
And I would say that, especially coming out of the pandemic, that those are two things that I have changed about myself, and just the way that I'm more vocal with others.
Yes.
There was something that you said earlier too in regards to
Shantae, we losing you.
It's important for you to be well, because if you're not well, then you have to care the things around you as well as take care of what needs to be done. So you have to be the most important thing to take care of, and then everything else is going to be after that.
Yep.
Absolutely. But when it comes to the boundaries are so important, because if we continue to let people run over us, if we continue to not show the importance of showing people how we want to be treated, because everybody doesn't want to be treated the same.
That's true.
And, one of the things that I learned too is that they say, oh, treat people how you want to be treated. And when I found out that that's not the right saying, the way that it goes, it really supposed to be treat people the way that they want to be treated.
That's good.
Because we may have a list of friends, we may have a list of family members, and all of those people have different personalities and different characters. We cannot come to and treat people in a way that we want to be treated, because they may not like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There may be people that don't mind being delusional.
That's so true. That is so true.
And sweeping things under the rug.
Yep.
Then you have another group that I put myself in. No, we always gonna talk about and bring to the forefront what's happening, because that's a part of awareness. But when it comes to
Shantae, you muted yourself. Okay, well, we might just have her come back to the microphone. Not sure what happened, but I think you guys got the gist of what Shantae was saying, and I love that latter part of what she was saying, which is, because we get it from the Bible does say, do unto others as you would have them to do unto you, right? But she did say something key. Everybody is not the same. And so, what I can take, the cross that I can bear, that I can carry, that may not be the same thing that you're able to carry. And so if I treat you the way that I am treated, you may not be able to handle that. Hey, Miriam. Hey, Robin and Gregory. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You may not be able to carry that, and you may not be able to handle or appreciate it, right? Because there are times when we all know that we're all on different levels, right? And that's not to be conceited. That's not being mean. That's just what it is. Everybody is on a different level. And so you can't treat somebody that say if they just started in business, you can't give them the same weight and the same level of responsibility as somebody that's been in business for 10 years. Doesn't mean that you respect one more or less than the other. It just means their life's experiences, their level of expertise is a little bit different. And it's the same thing with life. So you have to know who people are and treat them accordingly. So let me just go back real quick because we're just about done. But again, if you're just now tuning in, we're talking about setting boundaries. And I've discussed like what boundaries are. And I'm just kind of walking you through how to do it. So first we talked about with whom you should set boundaries. Everybody, including yourself. You need to know yourself and your capacity so that way you can kind of know what all you have capacity for. How much more can I take? How much more can I do? But then you also need to set boundaries for other people because people will treat you like you allow them to. If they see that they can always come and just dump their stuff on you, hey, will you do this? Can you do this? I need you to do this. I want you to do this. Then that's what they're going to constantly do, right? We talked about the who, we talked about the why. You're doing it. I gave a plethora of reasons, but what it boils down to is you're doing it for your health, you're doing it for your sanity, you're doing it for yourself because you need to be okay. When it's all said and done, after you get finished, after you finish doing all of this stuff for everybody else, there still needs to be some of you that's left. Deanne says, now, in fairness to the Lord Jesus himself, we can know what he meant by do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. And in the present society, do that which is good to one another. Absolutely. So being good to one another is still that's going to look different, right? It's a customizable experience because it's based upon knowing me, knowing what's good to me for me. Anybody that knows me knows I don't eat shrimp, right? But that doesn't mean that because I don't eat shrimp that you can't feed me. You just wouldn't feed me shrimp. So basically we're saying do unto others. If I would want to be fed, then I'm gonna feed somebody. But the specifics of what I feed them and how I feed them is going to be based upon my knowledge of them, me knowing who they are and what their specific needs are. So I hope that makes sense. So we talked about the why, we're talking about the what to do. So again, just the blatant thing, the easiest thing, you just say no. If somebody asks, you do not have to feel obligated to always say yes. Just because somebody asks, it does not mean that you have to say yes. It doesn't make you a mean person. It doesn't make you a selfish person. It just means that everybody is not entitled to you. Everybody, just because you know them, they know you, you grew up together, y'all lived on the same block, you went to the same grammar school, your mothers were best friends. Just because you've known somebody for a long time, it does not mean that they have constant, consistent, continual access to you, right? Everybody is entitled to a no. And if you don't learn that sooner rather than later, you will find yourself stressed out, stroked out, broken down somewhere, like because your body cannot handle all that. And again, I keep telling y'all, ask me how I know. But so these are some things to do. So if you are a type of person that just saying no, it just don't come natural for you. All right, child, watch this, work with this. You about know the relationships you have with the people that ask you for stuff, right? So if you know you can't say no, and then if Susan, make sure ain't nobody named Susan watching because I don't want nobody to get me. So like let's say we got Susan watching. Let me see. Ain't no Susan. Ain't no Susan. Okay. I gotta look at my all my people that's listening from Noon Vibe because I don't want to offend nobody just just in case it happens to be a Susan. But so say if Susan ends up calling you, okay? Like if you know that whenever Susan called, let me tell y'all, okay, I'll be real, forget Susan, let me just be real transparent. There was somebody who called me on yesterday. I had 50, 11 things going on at that same time. And I know for a fact, like literally, I am not exaggerating. This person literally only calls me if they want something. This person don't ever call to just shoot the breeze. This person don't ever call just to see how I'm doing. They don't ever know what's actually going on with me anytime. This person literally only calls me. So I don't talk to them every day, every week, every month. This person only calls me when they want something. Well, guess what? I didn't have the capacity to even entertain the thought of doing something yesterday. So guess what? I didn't answer the call. And can I tell you I didn't feel bad? Because can I tell you, you know how we have a thing called voicemail, and most people on their voicemail they leave a message. And I know with texting and all the social media and DMs and stuff, maybe voicemails are getting to be a little bit more old school. But you know, there was a thing called voicemail, and you would leave a message on your voicemail that says, "Sorry, I'm not available right now. But if you leave your name, your number, and a brief message, I'll get back to you when at my earliest convenience." So you have some people who, well, I can't just let my phone ring. As soon as my phone ring, I got to answer it. Lies, lies, and more lies. Like you do not have, you are under no obligation to answer your phone just because it rings. Like it's a chance that you could be busy, and that's the reason why you have voicemail. So for those of you who, you know, you don't really like confrontation, you have a problem with telling people no, then one of the things that you can do is, if you, again, if you know that typically when people, and if it's certain people that you know for yourself, when they ask for favors, they typically do it via phone, then baby, that's called let them go to voicemail, and you screen the call. Now watch this. If they don't leave a voicemail, then you are under no obligation to call them back. Honestly, you ain't under no obligation to call them back any other time. But I'm saying, like, integrity would say, okay, if they call, they left you a message, you said you're gonna call them back. You decide when your earliest convenience is. Most people do it within, 24 to 72 hours. But whatever your convenience is, because you might be on vacation. If you're on vacation, you definitely shouldn't be calling nobody back when you're on vacation. But the point that I'm making is, if somebody calls you, they don't leave you a voicemail, then did you really want me? If you can't tell me what it was that you wanted on a voicemail, you got that much of a spirit of entitlement to think that I'm just supposed to see your number and then just fall all over myself to get back in touch with you so I could do a favor for you. You don't mm, mm-mm. That make it real. That make it real, real, real easy. Let me see. Deanne says, I have learned to slide people who only call for things onto my block list from year to year after a warning. Listen, it's November and folks are sliding, baby. Let me tell you something. Because when you are getting to the point that you're being booked and busy, and I don't care whether you are an entrepreneur, if you work in corporate America, I don't care if you live the domestic life, so you are somebody's partner, somebody's mama, I don't care. Like, when you get for real about you and intentional about you and your health and your well-being, baby, I don't got time for distractions. I don't have time for mess. And if I'm being quite honest, I don't really have a lot of extra time for others outside of my household. Because when you just look at what my schedule is between my household, my businesses, my church life, like, I don't really have. So you not hurting my feelings because you didn't leave me a voicemail and you thought that I just had, because next to somebody saying, do you got some extra money? Next to somebody saying, do you got extra money? When somebody say, do you got extra time? Well, Did they make more than 24 hours in a day and I missed it? Like I know we had daylight saving time, so I know we, technically gained an hour, but it's still tw- anyway, no matter. So that's y'all what. So that's what to do, y'all. So either say no or you figure out how to strategically dodge slash vet people. Okay. But again, after a while you should get tired of running from your own life. It's your life. If you don't take charge of it, what make you think anybody gonna ever respect it? Baby, you gotta speak up for yourself. You gotta tell yourself, look, I respect you. I see what you doing, girl. And I'm trying to tell you, I be telling myself I have affirmations and everything. I respect what you trying to do. And so therefore we got to make sure that we position you for greatness. So you can't be saying yes to everybody and still expect to achieve what you're trying to achieve. So you should love yourself enough to be able to know who you should be saying yes and no to, when you should be saying yes and no to them, so on and so forth. Let's move on. So we talked about with whom you should set boundaries, why you should set boundaries, what you should do or what you should say in setting boundaries, when to say it. Let's go there. When to say it. When you can tell, because again, I am not trying to say that you're always telling people no. That is not what I'm saying. Have not said that. Like again, when you are a critical part to your circle, when you are that strong person, because we always say strong people need strong people, right? So understand that I am not saying nor am I insinuating that you should never help other people out, because I help people all the time. But what I'm saying is, you should know when you are at your capacity, right? And that's going to look different for everybody. And it's not going to, not just different for everybody, but at different stages in your life, at different points in your life, different days of the week. So when you feel that you are, my favorite, one of my favorite sayings for myself is like, ooh, they're about to boil my water, right? So when I am like it is wearing real thin, like because I am typically a very optimistic person. I'm probably one of the most positive people that most people are around. I'm always encouraging. But when it gets to a point when I find myself complaining or when I find myself fussing, like that's not my normal character. So when you got so much stuff on you that you are no longer who you naturally are, you need to start clearing your plate, right? It is best, and let me say this, it is best to set boundaries proactively, right? So it's best to come in the gate setting boundaries. But watch this. Many of us, we already did these big ages and we didn't start out in our teens and 20s telling people no. So we done already let it, accumulate some 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So we kind of missed the mark on that. But just because you started it again, what I say, if you created the monster, you can destroy the monster, right? So now that you've had experience with people, when you start feeling yourself getting outside of your character because you got so much stuff on your plate, you need to start saying no. When you are always tired because you're not properly resting, you need to say no. When you feel yourself stressing, and let's say if you have had some pre-existing conditions, many people, so again, I'll share it, I've been very transparent. I have a severe stress disorder, right? That's one thing. I'm a stroke survivor and my strokes were caused by stress. So I had to learn how to keep my stress levels in check because my stress levels have very negative effects on me. I also suffer with chronic inflammation. Okay. So, one of the things that activates my inflammation is stress. So, I know my body. So, even if technically I might say, okay, well, I'm not really stressed, baby. When my back starts hurting a certain way, when that inflammation starts building up, I know that 9 times out of 10, now again, it's not always stress that triggers my inflammation, but many times that's what it is. So, when I am being inflamed, okay, it's time to start saying no to something, right? So these are some of the things I'm saying. This is why I started out saying that you have to know you. You have to know yourself. So when you're not in character, in your normal character, if your stress levels are all over the place, if you are grouchy and you're not normally a grouchy person, if you are, being short with people, you got attitudes, you are always tired, if you're like your work, the things that you normally do, and I don't just mean in your workplace, I mean like the things that come natural for you, if you're struggling to do them, if you're finding it hard to focus, like all of these are signs that you are doing too much. So that then means that something needs to be taken off the plate. And 9 times out of 10, it's not that the things you doing 9 times out, matter of fact, okay, let me be nice. 7 times out of 10, all the stuff you doing ain't even your stuff. 7 times out of 10, more like nine. But the all these things that got you so tired, this is other people's stuff, because you know yourself, because you've now committed to yourself and you said, hey, I'm not going to do too much. So I know my capacity. So I'm not going to do more than what I know that I can do. So you done stay within your little circle. You done stayed and you coloring nicely in between, in the lines and everything like that. But what you didn't do, you didn't learn how to tell people no. So when your mama needed you, your brother needed you, your significant other needed you, your child needed you, your boss said this, your pastor asked for this, your community member said this, you just telling everybody, yeah, you ain't wrote nothing down, you ain't checked the calendar, you ain't double look, but you steadily double booking. Like that's how come. So when you feel some of all those things I just named, when you feel those things happening, that's when you know that it's time to start taking some of the stuff off. How do you take it off? Right? I already told you what to say. I already told you to tell people no. I already told you, if you're not good with confrontation, especially because most people, when they ask favors, most people, like, unless you just got the bold beggars, most people don't even like to ask the favors in person. Most people gonna call you, DM you. They gonna do like just roundabout indirect requests, right? So the same way that they roundabout indirectly asking you, then you just, girl, I didn't even get that call. I never got around checking my voicemail. No, I didn't check the. I ain't even been on Facebook all this week. Like, so you play the game with them. That's the what told you, when, but how. So when you know that you are in over your head, how do you get out from under? Well, I'm trying to figure out the best, the nicest way to say, baby, you're gonna have to put your big girl panties on, okay? You're gonna have to just like grow up. Like I know that we don't want for people to be mad at us, but you just gotta find a way to say, look, I know that I told you I could get this done, but I can't. I know I told you it would be tomorrow, but it won't be. Now, again, depends on what we talking about, right? So I'm not telling you if you got a client and you done told the client, this is the deadline, then you just straight avoiding. I ain't telling that's not good business practice, y'all. And that's probably like that's the Thursday show when we talk about professional development. No, that's not what we're talking about. Like if you but say something come up with a client and you're not able to deliver. Remember I talked about proactive communication? Like if you're a good business person, you're looking at your calendar, you see that you told them it's going to be ready on November 29th. It's November 19th. You about know. If you ain't even started on whatever it is, you know it ain't going to be done 10 days. Tell them today, tell them tomorrow. Look, I know I told you 29th and I really apologize. If you don't, you ain't gotta share what happened, but if you have that type of relationship, you can. You just let them know when you can do it. I know I told you this date, but you know what, I won't be able to meet that date. And again, you do want to be responsible and respectful, so you do let them know if you've given somebody a promise. Because here's the thing, when you done already put everything on your plate, Now ain't the time to, cause I'm tired of people taking advantage of me. Now, baby, you should have felt that way before you said yes. But once you done gave your yes, now it's connected to your character. Now it's connected to your integrity. So you have to deliver on that yes. Now, again, understand that dates can be adjusted. So if you've given somebody your yes, but you see that it is affecting you negatively, no, it's not worth you being in the hospital. No, it's not worth you hurting yourself. No, it's not worth you harming yourself, but it is worth a conversation. So how you do it is you connect with whomever you gave that yes to. I know I told you I could take you tomorrow, but I'm not going to be able to. I know I said it was going to be back to you by 29th, but you know what? I'm more so looking at the 19th of next month. That's going to give me enough time to, get back together. And if that then means that you got to give some money back or you got to give an extra couple favors, then again, this is Thursday's show under like professional development. But to keep your work ethic intact, then you do what you have to do in that regard. But if it's just like personal favors, and if you don't, so again, it depends on the relationship of the people who's asking whatever. Because again, I say and I maintain, people who actually care about you, number one, they wouldn't have asked it of you anyway because they don't want to see you in a bad spot. But then if they care about you, they're going to understand if you have to come back and say, no, you can't do it, right? Because a lot of the times they didn't even expect for you to say yes. But if you say, let me tell y'all what my kids told me. And even though they are my girls, when I tell you, I have found that this is what the average person feels. Average person asks favors, understanding that there's a 50-50 chance that the answer is going to either be yes or no. So, like, I remember talking to my girls because I was like, and it was two in particular, these two younger ones. And this was a few years ago, maybe 2, 3 years ago. And I remember saying to them, I'm like, look, every time I turn around, y'all asking for something. Like, when is it ever going to be enough? And you know what they boldly, honestly told me wasn't a joke, no smile, no smirk, nowhere. They were like, oh, we just figured whenever the answer was gonna be no, you would say no. Like, we never expected for it to always be yes, but we gonna take as many yeses as you willing to give. Like, and they were dead serious. They're like, we not gonna disqualify ourselves. Like, if you gonna say yes, then we gonna take the yes. But we ain't never finna not ask. The least we can do is ask, and then gonna quote the Bible, talk about the Bible said, we have not because we ask not. So we gonna at least ask. So what the point that I'm making, even though it sounds silly, but it's so true. People know when they ask you for something, there's a 50-50 chance. Maybe the answer is yes, maybe the answer is no. But sometimes we are the reason why they keep coming to us. Because if you've never exercised that no part, if you always say yes to them, then they ain't gonna never think that you're gonna say no. So sometimes you gotta say no just for good measure. Sometimes you could be very much available. And you know what? You just say no for good measure. Just because the last 3 times I said yes, so I can't establish a pattern because this is looking like it's becoming a pattern. So yeah, maybe you could do it. Maybe this is actually the day that they ask me is the clearest day on your calendar, but you still just say no for good measure because again, what I tell you, you training people how to do you, and if you constantly say yes and you never say no, they will never think to look elsewhere. So again, the how is you just be upfront with people. And if you're the type of person you feel guilty for backing out, then again, make sure you give them an alternative date or you give them an alternative solution. You know what? I know I said that I could take you Thursday, but something came up. I can't take you, but I already talked to such and such, and they said that they could do it. Because again, the other thing is many times, and maybe this is just a arrogant prideful part in us, it ain't even that they really want you to do it, they just don't want to do it. So many times, like when somebody's asking for something, if you're able to solve their problem, whether it's you specifically doing it, or like I gave that example, they say, hey, can you take me grocery shopping? Many times it ain't that they specifically want you to take them grocery shopping. They just need to go to the grocery store. They need somebody to take them grocery shopping. So if you can set it up with this dude or this girl to take them, guess what? they gonna be just as happy because at the end of the day, all they wanted was to get to the store and you arranged it to happen. And that is the last how is understanding that it doesn't always have to be you. So just because you tell somebody you can do something for them, then start figuring out how to delegate. Who else can you ask to do it? Who else wouldn't necessarily mind doing it? That ain't gonna charge you a favor because you're doing it, but that just wouldn't mind doing it. That's another. So you just find an alternative way of creating the solution where it doesn't defensively have to be you. So y'all, I done went over my hour, my bad. But I hope that this has helped somebody. And as I'm ending it, if you guys have questions from Noon Vibe, feel free to take the microphone on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. You guys can ask your questions in that comment section because I don't want to end it without addressing anybody's questions. So if there are questions, this is now your time to ask. But again, we have been talking about setting boundaries. We've been talking about the importance of setting boundaries because at the end of the day, you matter. And so when we are on our road to personal growth, when we are, trying to get better, you have to learn that self-care is necessary. And if you're always taking care of everybody else, at what point are you taking care of yourself? So that is why it is so critical that we learn how to set boundaries. Again, setting boundaries does not mean that you are always telling everybody no. It's just understanding that at some point, everybody can be told no. It is a point where you might have to tell your mom, I can't do it today. I got blah, blah, blah going on. Husband, wife, daughter, son. I know that this is a game. I can't make this game, but I'll make your championship, or I can't make you breakfast, not today, And so the alternative solution is I can't make you breakfast, but here's money, go stop and get you a muffin on the way to school. You see what I'm saying? So if you've already committed to it, then you can number one, like I say, know who needs to be given boundaries, everybody, including us. What you do is learn how to say no. When you do it, when you feel yourself being overwhelmed or some of the negative things of your character starts to come out, is your body's way of letting you know you too thin, you don't did too much, you need to let something go. How you do it is either just is through proactive communication. Don't just avoid people because people hate that, especially if it's people you've had a relationship with. You should respect people enough and respect whatever relationship you have with them enough to just be honest with them. Don't feel like they gonna hate you. Don't feel like they gonna stop being your friend. They gonna throw you away. No, just let them know. Because again, they already knew coming in is a 50-50 chance that the answer would be yes, the answer would be no, 50-50, right? But if you take it on, you say the yes, you find yourself, you can't do it, then either proactively communicate, I can't do it. It could just be that simple. Or, like I say, depending on what the circumstances are, I can't do it now, but then you give them alternative date for when you can do it. Or, you know what, even though I can't do it, I did find somebody else who can. Or whatever the alternative solution, you can create the solution since you gave the yes to keep your integrity, your character in place. Then I may not be able to directly do it, but I still found a way to solve your problem, right? So hopefully you guys have been able to tune in and you've been able to get educated and empowered with Toneal. I've been able to equip you with some information and inspiration to be your best self. Now I'm supposed to be going live at 5 tomorrow. Wednesday is our Words of Wisdom Wednesday. So y'all keep good thoughts going on. Hopefully I will be able to come live. But if you all are not already doing so, I do ask that you follow me across social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, and Known Vibe. You can find and follow me at Educated and Empowered, the number two. I got different accounts too, but that's the main one to come to. That is for the business. Again, I'll be talking more about these memberships because I think that what I'm going to do is for Black Friday, I'm going to do a special with my memberships for Educated and Empowered because there is a plethora of products, services, events, a lot of different things that I have in place that will help you. A lot of different tools that I have been working on behind the scenes to help you be the best version of yourself. And I'm talking about like from the most feasibly economical price. I think the cheapest thing I got is maybe like $5 up to, so we'll just say $5 and up. So if you are a person that is serious about self-improvement, personal growth, professional development, like just women's empowerment. If these are things that move you, then you want to connect with me. And finally, if I don't already have your email address, please be sure to put it in whatever inbox we're connected to, whatever platform you're looking at. Inbox me your email address so that I can add you to our list. That was a mouthful, but thank you all so much. Nobody has come to the mic. Nobody has put in their comments. So I am taking it that you guys have been able to be educated and empowered with Toneal. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, you all stay inspired.